time. We're all here 2 minutes early, but I'd like to call the February 24th, 2025 Golf Course Advisory Board meeting to order. And we'll start with roll call. Marshall Allen. Jesse Bright, is it Bright?
Rankin.
Rankin?
Yeah, was not present.
John Hay.
Here.
And so we are all here. Moving on, the approval of tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion. I second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, approval of previous month's minutes. Everyone should have a chance to look over. Any changes to last meeting's minutes?
I move that we approve.
All right, we have a motion for it to be approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion passes unanimously. All right. Is there any public here tonight? To be heard? No public present.
How often do you get public out of curiosity?
Once every 2 years.
I've been here for almost,
Okay.
I've been here for almost 6 years. And once.
Okay. I'm just curious.
It's rare.
I think in my 13 years it's been twice.
Is it like spicy or like?
So.
It depends on the topic.
The three guys, there's the all pass,
Yeah.
and then there's a couple for something I don't remember why.
Sorry.
No, usually not spicy,
Okay.
especially since we went to dynamic pricing, so that we really don't talk about fees that much.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Sorry.
So, moving on to communications, the Golf Pros reports. Would you like to start?
Oh, I would just be thrilled to start.
Thank you, Pete.
We have a really great report
Yeah,
for
right.
the month of January at Youth Creek. We, I'm going to blame it on Sam because he was still there. He's not here to defend himself.
Wait, can't blame it on you because you're sitting next to me.
I smoked it there. That's pretty good, really. Anyway, so yeah, it was a really rough month with weather, and we were closed more or less the whole month. I think they were open 2 or 3 days total. It only says one, but there's only players like 2 or 3 days. Almost 7,000 in revenue, and we played an actual of 76 rounds. And the more good news is February, right up until today, looks much the same.
Did you play 76 rounds today?
We played 69.
Oh,
We played 69 today. So, and we had a good day today. In fact, we almost made as much today as we made all of January. And 2 Mondays ago, we had. So we're going to get up to around 20 for February, the way we're going. Even that's not nearly enough. So, yeah, sorry.
I still have high hopes for the year.
Oh, it's going to be a good year. It's just a slow start, but that's why, the winner.
All right.
Ryan, your pick, which one?
All right, I'm going to start with Sunset since it's the first one on the page here. So, same kind of situation though. We were projected to do 10,088. We came in at 2919. Rounds projected about 400, came in at 184. We were open 4 days in January. Same kind of ish for Twin Peaks. Projected at 45,032. Actual revenue came in at 1,880. Can't blame him because he did more than the rest of us. Actual in rounds, we were projected to do 628, came in at 284, and again open 3 days in January. And same situation that Keith literally said. Up until today, it was pretty much getting there on that same boat. We've done 179 rounds total for Twin Peaks so far in February. about 11,000 in revenue, and then Sunset did about is at 135 as of right now, and 6,800 in revenue. So the next few days are going to be nice. I know we're both ready for it to be open. Ready to be ready now. So
Well, at least you got some break time, ready for the rush.
Which we needed.
yes,
After last year.
Relative to the transition of
Yep,
Ryan taking over here and me taking over out at Youth, that's a lot, big undertaking to get everything up and running on food and beverage operations and pro shops and staffing and all of it. So this really did give us a month to get our feet underneath us, get ready to go.
so perfect.
Yeah, well, kind of. Perfect would have been a lot of revenue too, and then I wouldn't have got that low.
Well, just sets you up for the rest of the year.
Yep.
So. All right, moving on, any old business? No. And Jeff, over to you for new business.
Yep, I want to talk a little bit about the budget and any questions you all might have. So go ahead. So just as a reminder, the golf courses are operated under a golf fund that is an enterprise fund, which basically means that the only money we can spend in golf is money that we generate through fees and charges. The only thing that is not covered by that is the bond election that was passed in 18 that paid for the maintenance building and the irrigation that's going on here. That is supported by tax dollars. Everything else that we do is by those fees and charges. Okay. So just a little bit, many people are kind of confused by the setup of the golf operations. So we have, I think it's 11 people that work actually for golf. And as you know, Ryan and Dan are the golf supervisors. They are in charge of the maintenance side of the 3 golf courses. And then we have the 2 golf pros that really do everything related to direct customer service. And that's from taking money, taking tea times, and offering snacks at the snack bar and lessons. Golf gets the money from the fees and charges, and the golf pros actually take the revenue from all lessons and the snack bar, and then golf also gets the revenues from partners. So, right, yeah, and fees and charges. Any questions? Does that make sense? Jesse?
I was just wondering if there's any, like, are there any like weird grants or state or like federal funding that you get related to golf ever? Like,
No, we haven't.
okay,
And
I don't know if that
a lot of times with grants, the challenge with them is that they add requirements that many times cause you to pay higher fees on either wages or supplies. So, you know, and where we're at now, I don't know that, number one, we really have anybody that has the ability or time to write grants. And financially, we're in a place where, you know, we really don't need that, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't consider those in the future. Any questions on the staff? We have 3 other people out at Green Creek that work directly for the city, 3 people that work here at Twin Peaks, 1 person that works at Sunset, and we have a vacant position there that is posted now.
It closes Wednesday. Then we'll be doing interviews at the 1st of March.
So that's what, 7 people that are paid?
Along with part of my salary and part of that. So around 11 till Sunday. Any questions? Any questions for the golf pros on their side of the operation? All right, next slide. So summary of the operating budget. We have, we're required to, or budgeted to bring in a little over $4 million this year, which is up by about $900,000. For years, I was pretty conservative on the revenue side, but we have a pretty good history now of bringing in more money each year since the start of 20. And right now, it doesn't appear that anything's gonna get in the way of that except weather. And because when we are open, things are pretty busy. And then on the other side is the expenses we'll spend this year just for the operation. This doesn't include any of the capital that we might talk about later. Just over $3.8 million, and that's wages and all the supplies that we need to pay to keep the golf courses open.
How does that compare to last year? So last year was 5.08 million.
In revenue, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then how much does admin fluctuate, right? So admin last year is 0.333 million, is that right?
Oh, you mean overall? You
No,
said admin.
I'm just looking at like, yeah, last year expenses compared to this year expenses.
They're up slightly, not a lot.
Okay.
The administration budget is probably the one that has the most fluctuation. Including in that is the $200,000 debt payment that we have to make. We had to borrow money to finish the maintenance building last year. I think it was $2.2 million. We'll pay that back over 10 years. That number stays the same. If you also look at the budget, there's what is called an administrative transfer fee, and that's the fee that the general fund charges golf to provide support. So any legal services, risk, any type of insurance, we have to pay back to the general fund to cover our portion of their expenses.
Okay. Like last year, there wasn't a bond.
There was the bond last year. Last year was the first year. One of the things that happened last year in the budget is the budget office put $200,000 in the admin budget, and they also put $200,000 in the New Creek budget, and we got that in March, I think it was, so that is not included in the New Creek budget.
When you say similar revenue to last year, why estimate a million less?
Because
Yeah,
it
based on
just,
like 2023, 2020.
yeah, and what Danny and I do, we average our revenues over the last, I think it's 8 years, and then are very conservative, just because, if we have a bad year, it could really impact the future of the operation. And
So like bad weather or something,
Yeah.
easily change that, right?
Yeah, and the good thing about that is if we would bring in, $500,000 more than that, it can't go anywhere but to golf. The money that we generate is, the charter doesn't allow it to be spent.
So there's no downside estimating the last.
Not
Okay.
Okay. CIPs, we have kind of a slim year this year of CIPs. We have just about $79,000 budgeted for this year with a very large carryover. Right now with the maintenance facility, we're carrying over $370,000. That as soon as we close out that project, will be available to do other things, and the primary thing that will be done is the deck at New Creek. And that's moving it all and then doing completely new railing as well, which is really neat. So that would pay we have $250,000 for golf course cart pass. We will probably, depending on how, once we close out the irrigation project, we'll probably do some work out at New Creek to improve areas that don't have the concrete cart pass, and we'll do that with pressure fund. We're not looking in the future at doing concrete anymore, because at some point in time we'll have to always replace that. And we need to be conservative with in our expenditures, because at some point in time we'll need to replace all of the irrigation system out of New Creek. I think we had an estimate of that being just about $7 million in today's dollars to be able to do that. So the golf fund really needs to start putting money aside to really keep our infrastructure up and running, which includes not only the irrigation, but all the pump stations, all the maintenance buildings, and the clubhouses that go along with that. So golf has to really keep bringing in money to be able to, in the next 20 years, be able to continue to keep things up to date. And then the other thing with the $119,000, that's dedicated right now to do the work on the silo out of New Creek. We kind of talked about that a little bit last month. It's going to take probably all of that $119,000 to design it and do the repairs. And there's work on the foundation, replacing some of the blocks, and then it's a sealant to help protect it. And part of the reason why it's so expensive is it is designated historic landmark, and that requires us to only use certain contractors to be able to do the work. And so we do have a contractor that is doing the final design of that, and then as soon as the weather gets where it stays warm all the time, we'll actually complete that, guessing in May and June of this year. Any questions on that? Ryan, could you go to Google Earth and pull up New Creek Golf Course? Hey, we're waiting.
So there's no use to the sidewalk except if you have.
It's too small. It was designated externally, right? And we're kind of worded as not a historical.
City council felt that was the best name. And that's,
It's nice and little.
They didn't need
Find it?
What part do you want to look at?
the north side. Kind of like, main building, if you could show that. I want to talk about the trail that needs to go in there.
Is it along the is it?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
Yeah, it's along the highway.
On 3 and 4.
Oh, okay, 3 and 4.
Yeah, 3 green, 14. Behind,
Yeah.
right at 66.
Oh,
Highway
yeah,
66.
I'm actually where the other way is.
West side.
Yeah,
East
yeah.
side. Can you show that?
That's right. Oh. Was it not, well,
How is that green good?
It's okay. You know, you can still see where it was repaired and stuff, but it feels like it shares over pretty good. You know, I put it on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My favorite place in Longmont, Golden Ponds.
It's just
That's a nice
actually
picture.
a solid area.
Yeah, I always looked. I mean, since these three actual this is different, right? It's just-
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's more just aesthetics, I think. I don't think we're going to replace that stuff. Yeah.
But I don't know.
If you miss, you're close.
Sure, the idea would be
If you slow down, time on purpose.
Yeah. And then we would add the shit.
I don't mind that. All right, it's not gonna show it.
You say that was spread, it's like two different days.
So can you go back to?
Yeah.
Little building. That's also in here.
We use it as a but yeah.
Was it probably again this year?
They did part of it.
Yeah.
So Jeff, is there a time frame that we decide to have to be safe?
It was,
Because you said that the money's going to it now.
well, we've known for 3 or 4 years now that it had to be done, but we wanted the maintenance facility to be done and out of the way before we did any work on it.
Okay.
So, so the trail that needs to go from the west side of the golf course to the east side, sorry, we can't get that to work on there. We've talked about that a little bit. One of the things in the future that we'll need to decide at Butte Creek is whether we'll continue to use porta potties on the golf course, or if we'll try to do something more formal with restrooms on by 15 and
5.60, same spot where the porta potties are now, right in that area.
Because that's probably other than pace of play, that's probably one of the biggest comments that we hear is that people really not using, like to use the technical words. Yeah, we had it, but it wouldn't show it.
It wouldn't project
Did
it.
we have any,
No, but we'll probably work with the park staff because they're building restrooms all the time in the new parks, and I think their design could possibly actually carry over to what we do at the golf course, as well as using them as the cost estimates to do that.
Are the ones here for that? How's it this way?
Going out here,
Yeah, all of those.
the restroom, they've been out there
They
very.
just were updated a few years
Restroom,
ago.
okay.
right.
At least, Ryan, how long are those restrooms out there?
2000, no.
Yeah, it was early
Yeah.
2000s.
But they were,
I remember when I was
say
working at
90s.
16.
Yeah, they were in the 90s. So,
Yeah.
yes.
So yeah,
it's
saying,
crazy to think that you could just design it that in mind, like.
cost saving.
well, I think that's
Just
the
thinking
same
about
as
it.
the maintenance building, is that as the money was running out, things got cut. Restrooms in the maintenance facility were 3 of the things that were removed.
Because when you think of it, Butte Creek being like our showpiece golf
Yeah.
course, winter golf course in Longmont, you've got
Everybody else forgets about the women.
When we were gonna do the maintenance building by the clubhouse, we had actually made an accommodation that was gonna be already be able to replace the bathroom, or build a bathroom there by 5 and 6, and have the water designed to get to it and everything. But just to show you,
There's the maintenance shop.
so our property, we need to go from here, which is a bridge, with a bridge, all the way over here. And this, I believe this trail's already completed, so we're kind of the shortcoming in the connection. So I'm guessing we'll probably sometime at the end of this year start design, and then need to do that in 26, 27.
and that has to be a bridge.
This has to have a bridge right here, because of this ditch that goes around.
That development did that little gray path right there, that's concrete path, and then that's the ditch that runs along 66 and down 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And it'll be a concrete.
And there's a possibility Parks may have a bridge that they'll give us a deal on, which will help with things. Could you go and just show, Dan, maybe you could run where the bathroom is on 15?
No.
And we're thinking that 15, the restroom there, would be the priority, since it's the furthest out. And if
Yeah.
people really didn't want to use the temp toilets on 5 and 6, they could
Get close to the house.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be the easiest to get water access, if we do it with water. I mean, it could just be, you know, like on house type thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I would imagine we could try to do closer.
Yes.
Well, closer is that good?
No, that's good. to Sunset.
If you get the jackpot, put a bathroom at 7. 2, 6, and 7. On
At
Sunset.
Oh, at Sunset. Oh,
If you get the jackpot.
instead of the, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Jesse finds us some grants for bathrooms.
Yeah.
So if you could go to the clubhouse,
I didn't even know if they were a thing, but apparently they are, so I'll do some research.
what's the thing?
I said, maybe he finds us some grants for
Takes a
bathrooms.
lot of people.
I'll be an employee in no time.
So one of the things we also committed to Ryan and Men's Club at Sunset is really revisiting the area around the clubhouse and trying to do something more formal with places to sit and to host some of the tournaments and that sort of thing there. So we'll probably be working with PEH to help give us some concepts of what that could look like. And then we'll bring that back to you all to get your comments before we do anything. But again, design will probably happen this year and probably a couple of years before we have the money to be able to actually do the work. And then can you zoom out just a little bit? And you can show the car path on 9. We got to do something with that too. And the car path's got to be a priority as compared to what happens. You know, that it's probably the one area where the pressure fines just don't seem like they're going to work. And so we'll probably have to do either asphalt or concrete there. And now if you could go to Twin Peaks. I'm going to stand on this side because I don't want to keep
Would that car path be next year's budget? If you had zero car path
So
budget
much
this year?
car paths. Well, but we have a carryover of
Oh, okay.
250,000.
So I could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Up at the clubhouse, kind of this area right out here. So a new priority since Keith isn't here anymore.
I was gonna get a little flinch there.
So Keith and Ryan and I, for a long period of time, have talked about doing some type of shade structure right over this area. And in reality, it would be the best place to have it because in the evenings here, you have such a good view of the mountains, and right now it's so blinding that people really can't sit out there in the early evenings. So that's something that probably not in the next couple of years, but needs to be on our list of things to try to do some improvements to the experience here at Twin Peaks. Any questions? Anything you all would suggest that we consider doing?
I like those suggestions that you have.
Okay.
I mean, as far as,
Could you go back to the PowerPoint?
Do you want all my suggestions right now, or just the ones that you talked about?
Well, are they capital projects?
Well, you
Or are they-
mentioned like the bridges, I think, isn't the bridge at U Creek on 12 a little falling over sideways? I mean, 10 and 12,
12's the part 3.
11, sorry.
Oh, 11 going across to the
Yeah,
Wood Bridge?
side, green side.
Oh, yeah, that's well, I don't know if it's fallen over. It might have a little sunken tilt to it. It gets
Right.
washed out every once in a while whenever we get a big rain or whatever, and then we gotta go and put it back. There's basically like 2 concrete pillars in the ground, and they're kind of like a piece of rebar that goes in there to try to hold them in place.
Right.
So it might have came off last year, but I thought we got it back. I don't know, I'll have to take a look at
It
it.
looked worse than we went to watch it.
Yeah.
But, that was October, I remember. And then very minor, the walking bridge on 10 on the left side, that's always just been like a low little bridge that kind of gets used on the
Yeah.
time of the year, but the rest of the time it's too low, the economy to walk across.
I don't think it's not underwater though.
Quite a few months, it's like springtime you can't use it because it's too low. Some of the times I can't use it because it's been too low for water. So.
It's the first time I've ever heard that. I've never noticed it.
I'll have to double check it, but
Yeah.
it's been a little while.
Keep going.
Oh, so like banking off the sunset little iterations. I mean, have we ever had like a warm up net there? Has there ever? I mean, I know there's not a lot of space there.
No,
It's
there
tough.
isn't. So I think back when Scott Summers was there, I think he put one up on his own, but let's how do I put this? If you're gonna do a net, it has to be caged in, and it wasn't caged in when he had it. And one errant shot is all it takes,
Right.
and that ruins it for everybody. Let's put
Right.
it that way. People use the net that surrounds the putting green,
Yeah.
and I have to remind them not to do that.
Right.
Last year we had one go under the net and break the window.
Tom's house?
No,
Clubhouse.
Oh, wait, that's clubhouse. Oh, that's, okay.
he was hitting into the net from the putting area, just hitting the driver.
Oh, this is great.
And driver was low, went underneath, ricocheted, and bounced, and you hear just crash.
Yeah.
It took me about 5 minutes to actually find how the window actually broke, but
I just wanted to get feedback from you. I think it would be helpful because it's always a bit difficult when you have such limited space and
it
very little
is.
range, right?
There's really, even putting up something temporary, it's just, the space is not, it's just not there
Yeah.
for it. I don't know how you'd be able to manage it or find it, and then putting it away at night if it's an actual driving net or not a permanent structure, then you're asking staff to take it down every
No,
night.
it has to
put
be
it
like
back up.
a permanent,
Yeah,
like,
I
netted
mean,
area.
You do that.
I just don't see that we have the
Yeah.
space there
Yeah.
to do that.
Because you'd be talking the net set we have on 3, that's right off the tee box there, and the one on 8. You'd be needing to do like a 4-post, and then surrounding it in net, and on top. Probably, I mean, I don't know how much netting costs anymore, but you know, I'd say it's probably cost more than some of the that. I mean, if we got to that, but
The
yeah,
space is a bigger.
Yeah, there's no
You're
space.
trying
Yeah.
to
Hey,
create space.
do you get much complaints on 6? Say, here's the,
Which course are we at?
oh, I'm sorry, Sunset.
Okay.
And so, you know, you tee off down here, here's the green. You get up in here, and I've been with a lot of people that have hit balls over here, and they're not necessarily on the air, you know, it's on the ground, and it goes through, and ends up in their yards over there. And I didn't know if you ever have complaints about that or not.
Yeah, we-
On 6 up at the top of the hill.
Up
Yeah.
6
Right
on
the
top.
green, to the right of the green.
Yeah.
When you go round up there, and most of it is you know, this
Yeah.
far off the ground. If you had a small fence there along that line, that might save quite a few balls. I don't know what kind of
The main complaints that we get is golfers trying to go over in people's yards to
get the balls.
balls.
But maybe if you put the fence there, that would stop that from happening.
I thought you could play from across the street.
I don't,
I've
this,
seen it.
this is gonna sound like an excuse, but you can't believe how many times the cars are hitting that little wire fence that's there, and that we have to replace that. If we put in any kind of fence, it would be
You mean on the golf
damaged.
course?
Yes.
It would be damaged at least 2 times a year.
Oh my
On
God.
Sunset and then on Third. People are
Mhm.
routinely hitting that and tearing it out.
Oh my
And
word.
sometimes, same thing out here on 12
Mhm.
And
off of Fordham, that they hit that one too, and, you know, the last one we had on
Sit on
3
three.
at Sunset, they were backing out to leave and they left their license plate,
Yeah.
which was
Signposts.
kind of a nice thing for a change.
Along, also the whole front end basically of the car.
Yeah, yes.
I still have the grill, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
It's a long element.
They hopped the cable fence, made it up to the tree line, came back in, and back onto Third Avenue, riping out 9 posts. 9 8x8 posts with a cable fence.
Other thoughts, Jesse?
I think the other topic is also some other things like just expenses for upkeep, maintenance, like bunkers, conditions, seed, sod, soil.
As far as detail about that?
Yeah, just like how we kind of increase or change or adjust for funding and budgeting for those items as we get more rounds in play, but
So I'd say that's Dan and Ryan, based on their experience this year and last year, that's how they'll make their budget request for 26. There was a period of time where fertilizer, when the war in Ukraine first started, where it was just skyrocketing. It seems like that's leveled out a little bit. Now, is it going up again?
Now with the tariffs coming, no one's guaranteeing any prices for an extended long period of time right now. At least the salesman I've talked to.
Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I've locked in the same prices as last year, pretty close on our big bulk fertilizers, and some of our green stuff, like liquid stuff, is pretty close to this. Everything's gonna go up, a few bucks a gallon.
Dan, could you just kind of do a sample of what a year likes with how often you're fertilizing, and just kind of do a quick summary of that?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same at the other 2 quarters.
So we'll just, like greens, we'll just start with that. So we aerified March 24th. So we'll probably go out with a green zap, like a half a pound of nitrogen. Probably that week before, which would be the 17th, and give it a little chance. It doesn't do a lot of good right now because the soil temperatures are so cold.
Sure.
But we'll do that. We'll poke our holes. We'll do our sand, all that, and then we'll give it some time. And then probably we usually start spraying consistently our spray apps about the end of middle of April, and then every 2 weeks, give or take the weather, and kind of go up some growing degree days for like some growth regulators and stuff like that. And then it's every other week for all the way until basically like October, until it starts to shut down. And then we'll give it like a fall lap in late to mid-October, something like that, kind of right before it starts to go dormant, so it saves all that nitrogen up. And then as we start to, soil temperatures start to warm up now and the grass starts to grow, that really gets that flush of growth going. So they're pretty juiced up, when we have that from last year, and then the stuff that we put on at the start of the purification
is
process.
it only for the greens?
Yeah.
Only fertilizing greens?
No. And then like in mid-May or something, we'll do a full course app out on the fairways, roughs, tees, and then we got like 1.5 pounds of nitrogen for that. And then 3 times during the summer, probably like early June, mid-July, and like late August, we'll hit the T-tops with what we go out walk spread fertilizer on those.
Sure.
And then and I'm gonna start doing a few spray apps out on the fairways this year. We got a company that's gonna come in and do it for us, and really gonna try to like loosen up some of the soils and get some of the fairway stuff just a little more lush and green, and try to work on the soils on those. They've been kind of neglected for quite some time because the money wasn't there, and now we got a good budget for chemicals and stuff, so there's some leftovers where we can start working on it.
Yeah. I think all the fairways are normally in pretty good shape.
Yeah, there's some spots where the irrigation's starting to lack, and I want to try to help those out a little bit, and along with working on the irrigation to get those coverages a little better.
I was in charge of our irrigation stuff, our HOA. And so we've had umpteen people out there analyzing what we could do better, et cetera. And one of the things we found out was that those houses were built in 1986, right? So we found out that our grass roofs were going down a 1/2 inch. And so we started looking for a product that would have the roots go deeper. And it turns out that St. Vrain School District uses a product to do exactly that. And so for them to reduce the water and still have green grass. Well, we tried that out for a month, and it worked beautiful. My God, we thought we were on a golf course. But it was very expensive. So we went out to try to find another product. It wasn't so expensive. We found a very inexpensive product out of California that the farmers use. And so we used that for 2 years, and our grass roots have gone down to 2.5 to 3 inches in 2 years using that product. It wasn't very expensive. Now we put it on, we had to put it on 3 times, beginning of the year, beginning of the summer, the middle of or spring, and the middle of summer, and the end. But it really, and we've reduced our water dramatically and still had very green grass. So I don't know, I don't know if the golf course could do something like that or not, or if we look for products or something like that. I don't even know if that's an issue here.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about exactly, but it could be like a wetting agent type product.
It was called Easy something, and if you really want to know what it is,
Yeah.
I'll get it for you. Now, that's all the good news. The bad news was they ran out of the product, and so we couldn't get it for a year. And because everybody found it and got it, and it was really inexpensive, and it really worked. And it was easy to put down. It was very simple to put down, and so I don't know if that's something that you want to consider look at or whatever. But if you want to know, I'll get you the name of the product.
Yeah, you can send it over to Danny and she can forward it along.
Okay.
It's something, it's probably would be tough on the scale that we would need it at.
I just
But there's probably we have so many vendors that somebody would have something that would be comparable.
But the only thing I knew is that farmers use it, so I thought, well, if farmers
Yeah.
use it, they're using a lot of it
Yeah.
in the fields.
Jesse, did you have any?
Did we ever bring back ball washers and additional benches or that stuff post COVID?
Yes, everything should be back out there that we had before.
Okay. Perfect. And then bunkers are also I think a big thing and a big expense. So I don't know how that's kind of fold into your high level picture.
3 years ago, we
Yeah.
replaced sand in every one of the greenside bunkers out at Deep Creek. And one rainstorm
Right.
just destroyed that effort. We need to find a way to help with the drainage in there, and they did some work with it when they were doing before, but has the one you did last year, has it been better?
Yeah, we've done 8. It was done in 23, the fall of 23, and that one was 100% better. Last year we did 13, and it was kind of a bunker that's out of play, but it held so much water that we had to do it. We did 5, the front of 5 last year. We did the first one on 9, first 2 on 9, Greenside, and then the big one on 7 last year. So those at the fall last year. So those all should be a lot better this year. And we did redo all the sand in 21, 22, whichever one it was, and then last year we added probably a good 2 inches of fresh sand to them last year. So it's just one of those things, where we don't have the exact right infrastructure underground to keep them from washing out all the time. But we're really trying to get out there and scarify, which are sand pros. Scarify means you go in with claws on the bottom of the machine and drive through there and work circles to loosen all the stuff up that gets packed, and then it's fluffy again. We try to do it at least once a week, when we have the help, and then twice a week, and then when we have, our peak time, June to mid-August, we try to get out there.
It's hard to spend money on sand. We're just gonna wash away on it. So
Right,
it's
and
kinda
if you're talking like fairway bunkers,
right.
those are ones, yes, we will top them off a little bit, but as a golfer, I think you'd rather hit out of a hard bunker maybe than a soft, fluffy fairway bunker.
Green side there.
Yeah, fairway green side you want, enough sand where you can get under it and flop it up there or whatever, but,
And for like Twin Peaks, the sign here.
One of, go ahead.
The sand gets added to the bunkers every year, the edge and through the bunkers, but these ones that are angled, they have zero drainage in them.
Right.
All they have is a weed barrier, and then it's sand. So we do fill them up every year, same with Sunset, they get filled up, but just like what Dan said, up here they have zero drainage in them, it's never put in before,
Right.
so it has nowhere to go. These they don't wash out so much just for the fact that they're not as deep,
Right.
depth-wise as Wheat Creeks.
Right.
But we do get a lot of washouts since a lot of them are up the berms on the greens and have a lot of slope to them.
Right. Yeah. That was it for like, for my thoughts. I think I had other like ideas for like items that I think would be helpful for just some like slight revenue, but
Hold on to that,
Yeah.
we'll come to that next. I think I have 1 or 2 slides left.
Yeah, of
and then
course.
we'll go to that. So I think this is the last slide, and I just wanted to show you a representation of the expenses that we're experiencing over the last 3 years. So for all of our full-time and temporary employees in those 4 years, our wages have gone up almost $500,000. And that's all based on the work that HR does to do salary comparisons. You know, when we were first coming out of COVID, and we couldn't get enough help, you know, wages really spiked up. But that's a big cost for the golf fund, 3 or 4 years after spending over $500,000 for wages, and we're thinking that's starting to level off a little bit, but probably need 1 more year to see how we do.
is that the same for employees? Wow.
Well, you know, it's been hard retaining and finding people.
Any questions on budget or CIP?
The only thing I had was like, I do think it would be interesting to do some kind of automower introduction or trial at some point in the near future. I know, like relatively it's not.
Well, you need to talk to these 2 guys. They
Sure.
just came back from San Diego, and their
Okay.
comment was, "I can't wait to see Jesse."
I'm not sure it was that exactly, but they are out there, and you know, they're out there.
Yeah.
They just can't cover the ground that you want them to cover. You know, like most of them will do basically like 6 acres before they have to go back and get charged.
Yeah.
So a lot of places, and this is all secondhand knowledge. And Reiner out there, golf guys get together after all these classes and everybody talks about it. So this is from a guy who went to the class. A lot of courses are buying, 6 or 8 of them, and then they'll stage them out on the golf courses. But I mean, not a lot of courses. They're starting to, there's not a lot definitely, and they're still a work in progress. Toro came out with a new one this year that they showed us at the show, and same thing though, they just can't cover the ground that you need them to, and then you would have to put in the infrastructure for like a docking station, recharge power, all that stuff, and then you're hoping that nobody comes along and messes with them at night.
Sure.
So
And
Yeah, I think it's, but
all the autonomous ones now don't catch clippings. So that means on greens, they'd be throwing clippings on the greens, T-mowers. So it's used more in areas like rough or fairways or secondary cuts where it doesn't matter if the clippings are picked up.
yeah, exactly.
So if it was one that had to be picked up, it would still need to be babysat by someone out there dumping baskets.
Yeah, I was thinking like you try one at Sunset and you put it where the maintenance shed is and it just does rough in certain areas, right? Or that practice area. To like get a feel for like a first-hand experience of like, oh, is it working well? Is it not working well? Is that an avenue to at least look into and see if you can time it with the sprinkler system and see if you can time it with the overnight kind of cutting or early evening, or early morning, late evening kind
right now our water windows is so we get stuff so it doesn't run off, stretch from sundown to usually sun up, at least at Twin Peaks and Sunset, I don't know where it ends, so it's stretched out, but
Yeah.
we do that just so the
Right.
fact that everything soaks in, we don't reduce the amount of runoff we get
Right.
on the golf courses.
Yeah.
So that pretty much takes up most of evening. And then beyond that, it comes down to if people want to see them on the golf course.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I've seen one in motion. I'd be curious to see how long they actually last.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then
of course,
gain
they're-
with lifetime.
Sure. I mean, because we're talking, cutting equipment for large acres of land. I don't know how many acres actually this golf courses do cover, but,
Right.
I saw one in Pennsylvania on a course.
Sure.
But they don't look like they're gonna stand up to the test of time, so how long are the parts gonna need to be replaced? How often,
About what's an initial They're not horrible from what I heard. I don't know for sure. I know you've done some
The
research.
research I've done was like, you can get, I think it was it like 3-4 acres? The basic, like, pro version there is like 5,000.
Yeah, that's
And
what I
then,
heard.
and then the more commercial one, which is like 18 acres, is like 30,000. So it just depends on if you have like, so I think Philadelphia Cricket Club, which hosted, USGA events, hosted, US senior events, so they're a serious golf club in Philadelphia, they have them. And I think what they did was a combination of like large commercial grades with some smaller ones. So they would be like, oh, use this larger one for the bigger areas and then the smaller ones for like rough and so forth. And there's limited range and whatnot. And I think that was the other thing was like, can we contact someone who has like a golf course that has one, right? Be like, do you call Philadelphia Cricket Club and be like, hey, can I speak to your reading attendant or your superintendent for like 30 minutes and be like, what's your feedback? Like, you've had these for a couple of years now, like, get some kind of like non-salesy input, right? Don't talk to Toro or Husqvarna, go talk to someone who actually has used it,
Yeah.
and be like, well, is it worth it kind of thing.
Yeah, and
But-
see what it requires for the
Yeah.
infrastructure too. I mean,
Yeah, because there is you need a 120 volt outlet and a way to put like a reference station. So there's a little bit of work to install them, but is it worth it? I don't know. This is something that I think is worth looking into. I'm not saying you should buy one right now, but is it worth dabbling into it? I don't know, for 10,000 or 5,000 or 30,000. I don't know.
Maybe.
I have concerns with the hydraulics. If you're running it off hours and a hydraulic leak happens, and it's off hours.
But that could happen even if you're.
What? But if you're running it at night or in the off period and it hydraulic leaks,
It's hydraulic leak.
the hydraulic fluid, is
They're
that
all-
like,
they're all
there's,
liquid, they're all electric.
there's nothing in those at all?
It's a
Even-
double-edged safety blade that you change out every month.
So I know all the other equipment we have hydraulic
Yeah,
systems. So like for the brakes and for all of that, so I didn't know if that still played a part in the electronic version, if there's still fluids that run through.
Yeah.
And if a line were to break,
Yeah,
kill
it's
the grass and then we're not gonna catch it till the next day.
right. It's just a motor, so there's no fluids part of it.
I didn't do the research, so
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
asking questions.
So I wonder what happens when people start aiming for them. I mean, ours was on the course. I mean,
Were
you gotta-
you aiming at it?
No, we
Yeah.
didn't know what it was at first.
Yeah.
We kind of were chasing around, taking pictures.
Well, I think at some point in time, that's where the golf world is gonna be. I don't know if we're there yet, but certainly need to keep looking at it. And, a former employee has just left the city and is starting his own landscape business with autonomous mowers. And I think it'd be good to hear from him after
Oh, yeah.
2 or 3 months to see how he's doing with his business and how they're doing. Certainly, he won't be doing the scale that we are,
Right.
but I still think it'll be some good information to gather with him,
Right.
as well as the other, superintendents around our area.
Right, yes. That's a good point.
So one of the, we added, improve the golf experience. And Jesse, last month you had made a comment about the flagpoles.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about what your thought is? And that's just to spark the conversation, because these guys have some experience with them, but not necessarily, we don't know for sure what you're talking about.
I was just trying to think of like little things, right? Like little easy, cheap wins that I think, for me personally, improve some of the golf experience, right? So, like having nice flag sticks with reflectors on them. I notice because as a golfer, the ball has to go into the hole, and generally there's a flag stick in the way. So it's like every time, every golfer interacts with the hole and like a tee box and, you know, almost like a flag stick, right? So I just have never liked the flag sticks at Lakeview Creek because they don't have reflectors on them, so you can't really hit the yardages. And then
Well, the reflectors are only used if you have a laser, like, you know, the actual laser. Now the ones at the rangefinder, you just shoot the pin and it says you're 220 out, you know.
I
Like,
can't hit the yellow flag stick, which is also the worst color flag stick on a golf course, on 17. Like
ours
mine-
are white. They were yellow a couple of years, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. So just things like that, right? Like having a well-made flag stick that tapers at the bottom and like, you know, has a reflector on it, I think is like a nice little improvement. I don't know how much they cost. I'm sure they're a couple thousand for a set or whatever, but just things like that. I don't know the flag sticks out here. I forgot to look when I was out here, but yeah. Like, do you know? Like, what's the color of your flag stick?
They're just, I think there's a white one, solid white.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been out on the golf course yet.
Yeah.
I haven't had an opportunity to go
Yeah.
there, but I'm pretty sure they're the same ones that we have at Sunset, just a solid white.
Solid white. Here they're checkered red and white.
Yeah.
Sunset has red, white, and blue flags.
Yeah. Not saying
White
you
and blue flags.
You do?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying we should change them like right now. I'm just saying we could replace them. Like, I think it's a nice thing to have. That's a little better quality. Other things, I don't know how expensive this is, but like having a clock at like U Creek putting green or the driving range, right? It's nice that we have announcers that tell you when your tee time is up, but I think that's like almost like a premium finish. Of like, you know, when you go to a nice golf course and there's a clock on the putting green and you know what time it is, you know your tee time, and like kind of things get arranged. Or even out here, put a clock on the putting green or driving range. Like, that could be a nice little bonus. Yeah, just things like that I think was where my mind was going for what are kind of like nice touches to add that would be cheap and appreciated.
Anybody else have any thoughts about that?
I think the shade would be nice touch. So, because then to, yeah, use the club socially as well adds to the enjoyment.
John, were you going to say something?
No, I enjoy very much playing the golf courses here in Longmont. I just find them all very wonderful. I thoroughly enjoy it, especially for the price.
Any other suggestions?
Yeah, I kind of forgot to mention this last meeting when we talked about winter conditions. Have we thought about, or maybe I should ask the question, is there a way for me to find out whether Sunset, Youth, or Twin Peaks is open due to like frost or snow without having to call the pro shop?
Yeah. If you look at the golflongmont.com website and look at the tee times, the tee sheet, if there's no available times, we're closed.
Okay.
Okay? Because we'll block that tee sheet. Otherwise, if people book that tee sheet online, and we end up having to come in and call 50 people to cancel all their tee times if
Yeah.
they're closed. So we'll block the tee sheet, and once we know we're going to be open, we will release the times.
Okay.
So I started releasing times further away from when we got open, and then I gradually moved it back and back and back until I think I talked to Dan Saturday night. I said, I'm going to release Monday morning.
Right.
So if you're checking golf Longmont, as we're getting closer, you're gonna see times start to populate. When those times populate, that's when you're gonna know they're open.
Is that the same with Frost?
Frost is gonna be a situation where Frost is individual, day to day. You
Right.
just don't know. So
With
if you got a low anywhere from 35, even 40 or lower,
right.
and there's more than likely going to be frost. If you have cloud cover, if you have thick, dense cloud cover with a wet, damp morning, you might have frost until 12 o'clock.
Yeah, you can check the relative humidity
Yeah,
points.
you
if
check
really
you
want.
check all those data points, and if you pull up your weather app and look at the overnight lows, you can get a pretty good idea of
Yeah.
frost.
So my
Otherwise,
idea,
If you're thinking like a system that is notifying customers, we really don't have that other than if we walk in the shop that morning and say, oh, there's frost galore,
right.
we can go through and send an email or text possibly if their data is correct. I did it the other day because someone booked a tea time, because as the days get longer and the mornings get earlier,
Right.
if you don't block out your sheet, or if you have your sheet blocked out, and it adds a tea time
Right.
as days progress. So I missed that. I had a guy book a tea time at 3:45 or like, no, it was at 4 something. And I was like, we're covered in snow. So I didn't have his phone number in there, so he booked online without a phone number. I just had to send him an email. So,
I was just thinking, like, would it be helpful if it's a time consuming, like time sync? Because I'm sure you got lots of phone calls. I've been in that situation. I played you many times with frost delays. To have like a social media update, if that helps people check that system. And I know in general the demographic is older, but it would be an idea to be like, hey, you come in, it's on some kind of, I'm not a social media guru by any chance, I'm not that attached to it, but I'm just thinking of a way to be like, make it easier to spend 2 minutes to post something, and then people can be like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna check and see if there's a frost delay.
I think that, I mean, it depends on who's working the counter too.
Sure.
And if they actually were to, either one, they'd have to text us so we can let Danny know, because Danny does the posting.
Actually, Rochelle does, so I
Or
have to let
Rochelle, so
Rochelle know.
there's a small chain.
It has to go through too many things.
Yeah.
And the ball will get dropped, and it won't get done.
Even,
But I'll tell you what, I will give you my cell phone number anytime you want it. You text
No.
me and I'll give you up-to-date information.
I don't want that. I don't want that. I just want it to be easier for you guys to be like, look,
That would be easy for me.
golf,
You're the only
and
one I
then,
ever
and
asked.
then I can create
even the Golf Now guys that answer the phone if we miss it, they'll call us sometimes for a course update, and it depends. If they're calling us at say 7 o'clock in the morning for a course update,
Right.
and well, we're not in the doors maybe till 7:30, so we don't get an update to them. It's another chain of command in the sense of us sending something to someone to be able to update their staff on that end.
Right.
To give you an idea, it isn't that we would just post it, that isn't how it works, or the city's golf courses. So we would have to come in, converse with Dan or Ryan, make a decision on what our best guess was, what our best thought was,
Right.
compose an email, send the email to Danny, who would then send it to the person who handles the social media accounts, who then would finally send it out.
Okay.
And
I was
now-
thinking you
and
could
now-
okay,
and now
like,
it's- and now it's-
photo, we're closed today.
And now it's 10:30.
And now everyone
No,
knows.
that's
You don't
not
have
how-
to call the pro shop every 10 minutes, but
That's
maybe
not-
it's
yeah.
not a big deal.
That's not how it works,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it's little
There's
bit
too many
red tape.
There's too many fingers in the pie.
protections
Okay.
Yeah.
that are for security.
Yeah. I was just trying to, cause I hear it and I hear the phones ringing all the time, and it's just like, this is,
I remember.
What would be even better is if we could get a camera rather than pulling out to the.
yeah.
Now that would be ideal.
And then you
I
can put a
said that
little,
for
you
years.
put a little note, 15 minutes delay.
See Keith running out there.
Dan stopping me halfway.
Yeah,
No, a webcam would be very helpful at all 3 golf courses, absolutely 100%. We've looked into it, it's never actually happened, I don't know what it would take to make it happen.
Again, there's some security issues with it because you have to guarantee protection of
Well,
privacy.
Well, yeah, because then
You have to be
now all of a
far enough.
sudden you have people,
Check our website.
Well, but you have people that are going to be viewed on the internet that didn't disclose they were comfortable being viewed on the internet.
But
So-
if you're far enough, you can't.
Where you can't
can't see
identify,
anyone.
that's the
Just
key.
like
That
the beach.
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
yes,
That
that's-
doesn't
that's-
matter if they're on camera,
Yeah.
then.
But it's public property?
Yeah, it is public property, but that's the feedback.
So there's another.
We feel like it would be a great thing, not only for what you're doing,
Yeah.
but having a camera out at the driving range, and it's like, oh, look, it's not very busy right now.
Yeah.
I'm heading.
That's a
heading
great
over.
idea.
And we feel like that, we will continue to work on that, and Ben, if you could help me remember to do that.
A webcam would solve all the concerns.
But-
What he's bringing up, webcam would basically, because you're going to see the snow start to go.
Yeah.
Although I would say, in communicating with Dan this weekend and Ryan in years past, we all think that we stand up here in the castle here and look out at the
Right.
golf course and we think it's ready to go. Well, I went for a drive on Saturday afternoon and everybody was wanting us to open Ute on Sunday.
Okay.
It was nowhere, even though the snow was nearly all melted, no one should have been on that golf course on Sunday.
Right.
So we kept them on the mats on the range, but the place was saturated.
Yeah.
Because this snow and water didn't blow away, it soaked all the way in.
But moisture generally isn't that big of a concern here, right? It's more frost.
Frost, snow, and ice.
Yeah, ice.
Really. I mean, if there's standing water, that's always going to be a concern too on the greens.
But that's less common.
Well, this time of year, the ground's still frozen 3 inches down,
Yeah.
down to 3 inches, so the water has no place to go.
Yeah. So it's up to 49 degrees though, I checked.
Soil compass,
Yeah, I
49.
checked. Yeah, good time.
Just wondering, is the webcam an issue because it's city property? I mean, I'm
It
thinking
was
of
all
like
about
mosquitoes
privacy.
or-
Yeah.
Privacy issues.
Because I'm thinking
We
like
have cameras
scooters.
everywhere. in our
Yeah,
creek.
everybody else does.
We do not.
Yeah.
That's why we
Cameras.
felt like that would be a great option at the courses. And we also want to do it at some of the festivals, and we've never been able to cross the
The city
threshold to get
very
it done.
cautious
I wonder if
when
that
it comes
has
to liability
changed
and things like that.
Could be.
Very cautious.
Okay.
Is that, again, it's
We
done
feel
everywhere.
Cautious this week.
He's been in Hawaii, and he
Things like that.
tells me to go look at
I'm not saying.
I wait.
I think it's-
Right.
Maybe it's about publicizing it. We'll start looking into
Well,
it.
anybody else with
sorry.
the improving the golf experience?
Quickly, one more idea. Have we thought about having like small range ball bags? I think a lot of the times when, I don't know, men's club members that are non-cart yearly members with full
Not-
range prices, like you just want like a 20 ball bag of range balls. You don't want like just like, is there like did we throw that idea of having like a $5 warm-up bucket?
We kicked that around, we beat that to death last year and decided we're not going to do that.
Okay.
So that was talked about at our discussions and what we thought, generally speaking, I get where you're coming from, but what we thought is that would basically eliminate one of the buckets that we have. People would spend a whole lot less on it, and it would cost us some range revenue overall. So we decided we'll just leave it the way it is.
Gotcha.
But it was talked about at length
Okay.
in one of our staff meetings, maybe a couple.
at least 2.
I remember.
And what, I guess this is just historical interest, like U Creek, that covered pavilion, what is that? And it has very little, from what I've seen, like yearly use. Can it be a cart barn? Was it ever supposed to be a cart barn? It's like an event center?
It's an event, we use it during tournaments.
Okay.
It was actually donated to the golf course by the
Kiwanis.
Kiwanis. And they actually just repainted it this last summer. And during tournaments, it is used a lot. The biggest challenge we have with its use is the wind. And, if we try to do any type of event that is a higher quality with glass, it doesn't survive very long. We've had some curtains that we've done there and they have limited success. We've talked about trying to do some type of enclosure with it and having garage doors where we could open that up, but haven't had the resources to do that yet.
Okay. I'll just,
I had my wedding there.
okay.
So we used that space for my wedding. Sam has used it ritually in the past for every outside event. It's usually the best place to host and hang out because it can house so many people down there. But it is mainly outside tournament events and or bigger, larger events.
It just, from my experience there, it's pretty rare that it's being used. So I was just wondering the history of it and is it the best? Is there any additional use we can get out of it? Or
We've had a lot of discussions about weddings and we work with some recreation staff.
okay.
It's just, it's real narrow because you have golfers right
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
so to do other things, it's just a really challenging spot.
Yeah, it seems like it could be cool. It seems like
We think so
it
too.
could be a cool something. But
The view for his wedding was incredible.
I'm sure. yeah, especially
We actually
said,
really liked it too because it was black skies rolling in and then it disappeared right at the evening time. But it works out. I mean, you could do it, but it's narrow and it's limited space for that kind of thing. But small weddings, I'd say smaller weddings you'd be
It's not very big.
yeah.
Well, that's like-
Smaller weddings you'd be golden for it.
That's why they want to improve the New Creek Golf Clubhouse.
Right.
That's a larger budget for another discussion.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that would be an awesome addition to Longmont in general. I mean,
Yeah.
because the views are gorgeous up there, and it's underutilized
Exactly.
for all the events that it could bring in.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Any other? All right, so any items from staff in addition?
No.
Any items from the board? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Did anybody first?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Jump street.
Who wants to be first?
First. And Marshall